Hey everyone, it's Carissa Wiley at sprinkledwithglitter.com. Thanks for joining me today. Today I am sharing an adorable card which features the Delights and Doodles release, which is brand new from Pinkfresh Studio, and I love this release. It has so many fun designs featuring critters and ice cream and sweet treats, so you'll want to check it out. For today's card project, I'm going to be using the Seaside Cones stencil and coordinating die set. Now, this does not include a stamp set, so the price point's typically lower on a stencil set. And I'm going to show you how this card comes together and also how to create an impression with a press plate using your Anna Griffin Empress machine. So I'm starting out by positioning my paper in my MISTI stamping tool. I'm putting it in that lower right-hand corner, and then I'm aligning my stencil with that lower right-hand corner as well. And I'm blending over my little seal friend here, and I'm using Misty Coast. Now you're going to see that I actually got a lot of blobbing going on, and that's because I'm using a smaller blending brush. So the smaller the blending brush, the more concentrated the ink's going to be. I wanted to kind of get a little further along with this blending, so I switched over to my 1-inch blending brush instead and blended over the entire thing using that Misty Coast ink. Then I'm going to switch back to that smaller 1/2-inch blending brush so I can purposely create some shaded areas. So you'll see me blend back over it with my 1/2-inch blending brush and kind of add a little more shadow to certain areas. A larger blending brush is going to cover a larger amount of area in one time. It's also going to kind of spread out the ink a little bit more, especially when you're using these 1-inch blending brushes from Pinkfresh Studio, because you'll notice that these brushes don't have the bristles tightly packed together. So now that I've blended my seal, I'm going to go ahead and wipe down my stencil, and then I'm going to work on the stripes on my beach towel. For this, I'm using Coral Reef ink. It is one of my favorite pinks from Pinkfresh Studio, and I'm just going to do a light blend over the entire area using the 1-inch blending brush, and I will come in again with the 1/2-inch blending brush to add some shading near the bottom of these stripes. Now, I've left all of the stenciling for this card in the video here in real time because you can see how quickly these images come together, and you can do a little bit of outlining if you want with a pen using your stencil. So if you want that kind of stamped outline look, you could take a pen and trace around the inside of your stencil to give this a little bit different look. But I wanted you to see how quickly these images are going to come together with the stencils and the dies. Now, once I've blended on the shading for the stripes on the beach towel, I'm going to also blend in that ice cream scoop that's there, and then I can switch out my stencil. Because I'm using the MISTI stamping tool to align everything, the stencils will just go right into that lower right-hand corner and everything will line up perfectly. Keep in mind these stencils do have registration marks, so if you want to do this onto an A2 size card front, you can definitely do that. You'll just use the registration guides in the corners to help you line it up with your panel and align every stencil with those registration marks. Now for the little straw here, I'm using passion fruit ink, and I used a little passion fruit towards the outer corners of our little guy's bandana as well. And then I'm going over that area using some Coral Reef. I'll also grab the 1/2-inch blending brush and go over the tassels or the little fringe on the beach towel or the beach blanket using that 1/2-inch blending brush because I want them to be a little on the darker side. I'm also kind of blending over that passion fruit that I put for the shading on the bandana with the Coral Reef to kind of soften up and create a better transition. Then I'm going to grab my mint ink and I'm going to blend in that ice cream scoop that's there on the bottom in the mint ink. This mint ink color is perfect for this release. I think that it's so much fun to bring it in. It's not one I use a lot for whatever reason. I tend towards more the blue greens, but this is a beautiful color. Now I'm lining up the third stencil. And this stencil is going to color in the seal's whiskers and the eye. And so I'm going a little bit darker on my gray here, and I'm bringing in Rocky Slope. Now, this stencil has a lot of small areas, or not a lot, but a few small areas. And so for this particular stencil, I'm choosing to use a 1/2 inch blending brush so I can really concentrate the color and get the little, divisions on his flipper, the detail areas. This stencil also has the ice cream cone. And for that, I'm using gathered twigs and I'm just blending over that area. Now, this ice cream cone does not have like a solid fill layer on this. So I'm going to show you how I kind of got around that. I took a couple of my stencils on the edges where there are no images, and I'm kind of masking off around that ice cream cone. You'll see I'll bring in a third one here for the upper area. And I'm taking that blending brush that already had the gathered twigs on it and lightly blending over that area, just using the edges of my stencils as masks. Now, my images are actually all done, but I decided my seal was a little too gray. I wanted him to have a little more color. So I'm repositioning stencil number 1, and I'm coming in with a light layer of Ocean Breeze ink right over the top of that Misty Coast that I've already placed there. That's going to add a little more blue tint to my seal. Feels a little more cartoony this way, and I love the way that this turned out. Now that all of my stenciling is complete, I'm going to take the coordinating die, I'm going to line it up with the images created by that stencil, and I'm going to run this through my Anna Griffin Empress die cut machine to do my die cutting. Now, this is going to give me a few individual images, and keep in mind, you can use these images separately or together to create a lot of different types of cards. If you just wanted to use the ice cream cone on its own, you could stencil several of those images and use them to create a pattern on your card front. Once my beach towel was die cut, I decided I didn't want the background to be so stark white. And so I grabbed my ballet slipper ink here, and I'm just blending with that 1-inch blending brush over the entire thing. That's going to add some pink to those white areas without changing the looks of the stripes that I've already done too much, because it's a softer, lighter color. Now I'm going to grab my Pinkfresh Studio liquid glue that I've placed into a fine tipped glue bottle, and I'm going to add a little bit to the back of my seal's flipper and glue my ice cream cone to his flipper. Now, I have some leftover pieces from Friday's card. If you haven't checked that out already, I'll throw a card in the upper right-hand corner now. I created this background using the Petal Grid press plate as well as the Starry Scallop coordinating die. You can use these two products together or separately. And I trimmed those down to create some accent pieces rather than create an entire background for my card for Friday's card. And I'm going to do that for today's card as well. So I've trimmed a little bit of that down. And now that I have that ready to go, I'm going to grab the Patisserie Pals stamp and coordinating die set. And I'm going to use one of the sentiments from this Patisserie Pals stamp set for my card. I'm adding some white cardstock into my Misty stamping tool, and I'm inking up my sentiment with some coral reef ink. Now, it wasn't really a smooth stamping right away, and that's because this is a brand new stamp. And when stamps are brand new, they have a little bit of a coating on them from the manufacturer, so you may have to stamp a couple of times to get a smooth image the first time you use a stamp. Now, I also die cut a couple extra layers of that sentiment piece, and now I'm ready to kind of assemble things. I'm adding a little bit of that Pinkfresh Studio liquid glue to the bottom of my seal and positioning him on his little beach towel here. And then I'll take my liquid glue again and add it to the front side of my extra layers of that sentiment piece. And I'm going to stack these up. So once I have liquid glue on the front of both layers, I'm going to grab the stamped and die cut piece and lay it on top of these two layers. And that just gives this a little bit of dimension on the front of the card. So now I am going to create an impression with this Petal Grid press plate. I'm lining it up with the front of an A2 size card, and I'm going to do this in my Anna Griffin Empress machine. In order to do this, I'm starting out with the A clear cutting plate, and then I'm adding the silicone mat that's included with the machine. And I'll place the pattern of the press plate facing that silicone mat, and then add my second A clear cutting pad to the top and run that through my die cutting machine. And you can see I get a nice deep impression with that press plate. Now, I actually did this on my card front here in the video, but I ended up trimming that down to a just panel because it had so much texture and my card really wasn't staying closed. So you may want to do this on a separate panel. But now that I have that really deep embossed, almost quilted like texture, I'm going to start adding my elements. Starting with that starry scallop background on the bottom, I'm adding that on with some liquid glue. I'm also adding some details to my seal. I have like an enamel black gel pen here, or it's a glaze pen, I believe. And I'm adding a little dot for his eye just right over the ink blending that I already did. And I wish I would have stopped there, but I didn't. And so I had to carry on and I had to add some details to his flippers. Now on that back right flipper, it got a little fat and it looks kind of messy. And that's why I don't really love this, but I love it on the eye itself. I'm also using a white gel pen to add some polka dots to my little guy's banner and adding some highlights to my seal as well as the ice cream cone. These are just fun little accents that sometimes you can do with your pens that you have on hand. Now I'm adding my little seal grouping here to my card front using some foam adhesive, and then I'll add the sentiment over there on the left-hand side as well. Again, using some foam adhesive to position that so that everything has a little bit of dimension and everything sits up kind of even and nicely together. I'm finishing my card off with some clear drops from Pinkfresh Studio. I'm using that Pinkfresh Studio liquid glue and the dual tip embellishment tool to add those onto my card front. Here's a look at the completed card, and I love this card because it came together so quickly and it has tons of texture and pattern kind of mixed together, and I love that look. And I hope you loved this look at how to create an impression with your press plate using your Anna Griffin Empress machine. It's really quite easy and gives such a stunning and deep texture effect. As always, I will have links to the featured products used in this project in the description at YouTube, so if you're looking for something in particular, be sure you check there. Or you can head on over to my blog at sprinkledwithglitter.com. I'll have that linked below as well. Over there, you'll find more still shots, more information, and a complete list of supplies. Be sure to join me over on Instagram today because this card project is a part of an Instagram hop celebrating the new Delights and Doodles release from Pinkfresh Studio, and I think you're going to love this release. Last but not least, I just want to say thank you so much for stopping by and hanging out with me today. Thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed this project, and I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, be sure to give this video a thumbs up, and don't forget to subscribe and turn on the notifications here so you don't miss any of my card making and paper crafting video tutorials, as well as my Carissa Crafts live stream broadcasts, which happen here live on YouTube at least once a week. Thanks again for watching. I'm so glad you're here, and until next time, I hope you have a fabulous day.